It seems mandatory. Every time a new console comes out, there are a bunch of accessories and peripherals that are gonna be made for it. Sometimes those peripherals really add something nice and improve the overall user experience, but most of the time, well, they just plain suck. Today, let's pay homage to these useless shells of plastic that you bought and regretted the day after. Hey, I'm Nicobbq, and here are my top 10 useless gaming peripherals. Before going in the top 10 itself, I just want to throw that out there. A honorable mention to the Wii Vitality Sensor. Now, I know it has never been released, but Nintendo actually showed it at E3, so I have to talk about it. This thing looks like it comes out of an hospital. You were supposed to stick that to your finger, and it would be used to read your pulse and adapt games to how stressed you are, or some shit like this. It was officially killed on July 5th of 2013, and we can only be happy about that.
Yay!
Remember the good old days when Tony Hawk games were actually a novelty and were really good? Yeah, me neither. Well, Tony surely misses those old days, cause he tried to come back to the big game in 2009 with his brand new game Tony Hawk Ride, which oddly enough came out with a skateboard thingy accessory. It was huge and kind of awkward to use, and definitely not what was needed to recreate the good old days experience of those type of games. The game was sold as a high price of $120, which did not help its case. The skateboard was eventually used in another game, Tony Hawk Shred, which sold a grand total of 3,000 copies. Ouch, that was the nail on the coffin for the Tony Hawk franchise. The Game Boy Advance was a phenomenal platform, home of almost any genre of games. It unfortunately had its share of useless peripherals. Amongst the worst is the Nintendo Ereader. This thing plugs into your Game Boy Advance and allows you to scan cards to play older classic NES titles such as Excitebike or Donkey Kong Jr. This sounds fun, however, you had to scan like 6 freaking cards to play it. Well, that's not so fun. You can also use other type of cards to get special things in games such as Super Mario Advance 4, but to do so, it requires you to have 2 Game Boy Advances, 1 e-reader, a couple of cards, and a link cable. Shit man, who has 2 Game Boy Advances? Why do I need all those things? Overall, the e-reader was painful to use and died quickly. You may be too young to remember that, but Game Boy games used to be displayed in black or white. Or greenish and white, kinda. More like grey, I don't know. Well, Nintendo decided to release a couple of weird peripherals for the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Pocket. The Game Boy camera was plugged in to your Game Boy to take funny pictures of you. The problem is that the quality was so bad it was almost impossible to figure out what the picture was about. The second peripheral that could be used with the camera is the Game Boy printer, which, as its name implies, was used to print those god-awful looking photos. The idea was cool, the technology just wasn't there yet. When you think about it, almost every older consoles had a gun-like peripheral. The Atari 2600 had one, the NES had one, the Sega Master System had one, and the SNES had this... And then the genre kinda died. It came back with the arrival of the Nintendo Wii and its revolutionary Wii Remote. Nintendo released the Wii Zapper Gun, which actually is just a plastic shell in which you put your Wiimote and nunchuck. The problem is with the way it was built. This is where the trigger usually is on a gun. Yeah, okay, cool, makes sense. This is where the trigger is on the Wii Zapper Gun. Using this feels so unnatural, it's killing it. Well, that's one reason. The other one being that there exist so few games that actually use this accessory, and even when they do, they usually are not really good. If you really want to buy a gun for your Wiimote, get the Nicobbq Perfect Shot. It's a million times better. Most games today can be played online, and they give you an opportunity to use a microphone or a headset to talk with players around the world. Well, Nintendo lacked that with the Wii, so they invented Wii Speak, which is some sort of little thing that you stick on your TV that listens to you. Now, okay, I know Nintendo is always trying to be different from every other one, but the Wii Speak is one of the worst idea ever. The point of a headset is that you hear people talking in your ear without really disturbing the main game sound coming from the TV. The microphone is also positioned near your face, meaning that you don't have to yell in it to be heard. The Wii Speak is placed on top of your TV across your living room. The quality is horrible and it's just a bad idea altogether. It is such a bad idea that even Nintendo told game developers not to use the Wii Speak in their games. That's how bad it was. In 1983, the gaming industry lived its first ever video game crash, meaning that games would not sell anymore and the industry as a whole was pretty much dead. It took nearly 2 years for the industry to get back on its feet, and it was mostly saved by the Nintendo Entertainment System. At first, the NES was sold with a robot named Rob. Now, this may sound like a neat idea, but trust me, it isn't. While I would love to own my own Rob, the execution was shitty. First of all, there exist only 2 games compatible with Rob, Stack Up and Gyromite, and both those games are not really good either. Rob was very slow and clunky, and it was usually more frustrating to use than it was fun. But hey, you gotta give it props cause it's fooled customers into thinking the NES wasn't a game console and actually saved the gaming industry. So thank you, little guy, but you're still a piece of crap. Sometimes you have to wonder, do people really think a product through before releasing it to the public? What was the main attraction and point of the Game Boy at the time? Let me tell you, it was a small and easy to carry around console. It was great for on-the-go gaming. Well, some company completely missed the point when they released the Game Boy Booster, which is some sort of giant box that you put your Game Boy into. It features a magnifying glass that also acts like a light, a control stick that breaks if you use it too much, larger control buttons that are very weird, some storage compartment on the back for your games. This is probably the stupidest peripheral ever made, as it makes your Game Boy like 4 times bigger than it should be, completely ruining the on-the-go aspect of it. And it requires 4 C batteries to work. Okay, that's it. I'm out of here. I can't take this anymore. No. The Sega Activator was made for the Genesis system, and it came out with a crazy instructional video that totally sucked but was required for you to understand what the hell it was all about. So, to make a long story short, it's a bunch of plastic shells that are placed together in an octagonal shape that form an infrared wall around you. So, to press buttons, instead of using the controller, you have to move your hand to disrupt the infrared shield of the correct plastic shell that represents said button. Yeah, I'm not sure if what I said just makes any sense, but it's okay that you don't get it or find it incredibly stupid and useless, because it is. It didn't work very well and was just plain stupid. And you wanna know the worst? The slogan for this piece of shit was, "You are the controller." Now, that's weird, cause I swear I've heard that slogan more recently. Who could be so stupid to repeat the same mistake again? You saw it coming. Everybody knows about this peripheral. The Power Glove? It's so bad. The Power Glove was the ancestor of the Wii Remote, except it didn't work at all. You had to set up those 3 sensors on your TV, and then you had to input program codes for the damn thing to work. And even when you did, good luck playing the games. I could go on and on ranting about how bad it is, but I invite you to check out the Angry Video Game Nerds video instead. It's worth a watch, just to see how bad of a peripheral that is. I am pretty sure that the Nintendo Wii is home of the most stupid accessories ever made. With the popularity of Wii Sports, Wii Play and all those Wii games, some companies figured out that they could make a quick buck by releasing some plastic shells of real-world items that you put your Wiimote into. That resulted into baseball bats, tennis rackets, golf clubs, boxing gloves, bows, footballs, maracas, bowling balls, snooker cues, fishing poles, forks, spoons, pom-poms, a baby? A freaking baby? And don't even get me started on the inflatable Mario Kart balloon thingy. There were so many freaking stupid third-party accessories made for the Wii, it's almost unbearable. The fact is, most games are even better played using only the naked Wii Remote. And I cannot choose only one. Every third-party Wii accessory is included in that number 1, cause they all suck. And if you bought one, you regret it. Don't even try that, oh no, it made the game better. No, it didn't. You just look stupid. Deal with it. Well, there you go. Those were my top 10 worst peripherals. Now, obviously, there are plenty of other shitty ones that I probably forgot. So tell me, what is your worst peripheral ever? The one you regret buying? Tell me in the comment section down below, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, as I will be releasing plenty more in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time!